Welcome to the Evolution Magazine live series. It is May 6th, 2021, and we are broadcasting live from Happy Rock Farms in Kansas City, Missouri. Will the state of Kansas go legal? Tonight we have Veterans for Kansas with special guest Major General retired Todd Bunting, Sergeant retired Chris Wolfenbarger, Kansas Normal co-director George Hanna, Kansas Senator Haley, and more. Our show will get underway in just a few moments, but first, a word from our sponsors.
Headquartered in Kansas City, Clover is a cannabis-infused product manufacturer that believes in safe, consistent, and quality cannabis products for Missouri's medical marijuana patients. As the extractor, infuser, and wholesaler of their own products, they ensure patients are getting exactly what they are reading on the label. No chemicals, no funny business. Clover offers a variety of cannabis-infused products ranging from gummies and beverages to vape pens and concentrates, and offered from a variety of companies including Keef, Funnybone, Wunna, and Robots. Whatever consumption method you prefer, they've got it. At Clover's facility in Kansas City, they're excited to announce their new, high-quality, cannabis-infused Clover chocolate bars and bonbons with the help of chocolatier Christopher Elbow. Clover is excited to continue to launch brand new products in the Missouri medical marijuana market.
Getting a medical marijuana patient recommendation just got easier with Elevate Holistics. Using HIPAA-compliant telemedicine software, Elevate Holistics enables patients like you to receive medical marijuana recommendations from the comfort of their own homes. Here's how it works. First, visit elevate-holistics.com to book your appointment using our online schedule. Then complete the intake forms in our confirmation email. Finally, visit with the doctor using the link in your confirmation email. It's that simple. Book an appointment today.
The Missouri Cannabis Industry Association has been our longest-running show sponsor, while providing quality education over many topics in partnership with area cannabis professionals. MCIA is dedicated to a free cannabis market to create supplies and prices that are patient-friendly, with initiatives to support adult-use cannabis, to protect home growers' rights, and expand the caregiving program. Go to mocia.org to learn about memberships, to learn about their certified caregiving program, and learn how to get involved. Thank you, MCIA, for being a show sponsor.
COCO Dispensaries and the Cannabis Care Team presents Cannabis Boot Camp. Do you want to know more about endocannabinoid system, methods of medicating, cannabinoids and terpenes, and Missouri cannabis industry? Do you want to become a bud tender and to help patients to find the best medicine for their needs? Or maybe, do you want to know how to manage your patient privacy and comfortability, the benefits of offering patient consultation, and the importance of consuming low and slow? April Hatch, Matt Cascio, Heidi Trout, Skylar Thomas, and Janie Dennis will be there to teach you all you need to know to become a respected bud tender. Text Bud Tender to 660-202-6234 or scan this QR code to register and learn more. And join us on June 12, 2021 at 1225 Fellows Place, Columbia, Missouri 65201.
Tonight's video is provided by Cat King Films. Check this out. Cat King Films is offering promotional content, commercials, training videos, wedding videos, and documentary-style video production at an affordable price. A free consultation comes with every project to ensure that it is personalized to your brand. Check out previous projects by exploring the different sections on the newly launched website at catkingfilms.com.
Hello, Evolution friends, family, Missouri patients, hopefully future Kansas patients. Welcome to the Evolution Live series. Boy, do we have a great show for you guys tonight. I'm sure you probably have seen already on social media and news channels that the first bill for Kansas legalization has passed the House for the first time in history in Kansas. It's the first time ever. So, big round of applause for that right there. Yes. So we have an exciting show. This was all of the universe lining this up because we planned this show out, over a month and a half ago. And here we are having these amazing people coming into the show tonight to talk about what's happening. We have Senator Haley that's coming via Zoom here shortly. We have George Hanna, the co-director for Kansas NORML. We have Representative Garber here tonight, who was a big part of helping push that bill through the House and out of committee as well. I won't go into the details. I'll let the experts touch on that here shortly. Chris Wolfenbarger as well with Green Orchard Labs and the Veteran Patient Foundation, Veteran Patient Access Foundation. And then, let's see, who am I missing? Oh, of course, General Major retired Todd Bunting, one of the highest-ranking military officials who's speaking out for legalization, not only in Kansas, but I don't think there's anybody across the nation that is as high-ranked pushing for this type of legalization. So we are honored to have him on our show tonight. Before I pitch it over to them, I want to say thanks to Happy Rock Farms for letting us do this show here tonight. Thank you so much to you guys. Also, our sponsors, Clover. To make this all happen, we're going to be doing a live show from Clover's facility later this month with Christopher Elbow, a very well-known chocolatier here in Kansas City who has teamed up with them to help patients have a different option for consumption through chocolate. So that's going to be a great show. Stay tuned for that. Also, MCIA, one of our longest show running sponsors. They have a great patient caregiver program. They're doing amazing things in the community here in Missouri. And then also Elevate Holistics. If you do not have your medical cannabis certification here in Missouri, they're giving away a free certification tonight. So tag a friend who does not have their certification or who needs their renewal. Tag a friend with the word CERT for that certification giveaway. Also, we have 2 free gift cards from COCO Dispensaries we're going to be giving away tonight. Tag as many friends as you would like. You get entered into that competition each time. I think that's big special thanks to the Cannabis Care Team. They have a bud tender training course that's going to be coming up in a couple of months. I'm sure you saw that on the commercial. If not, you'll see it on the commercial break. So thanks to them. And then on our commercial break tonight, Candid Convict is going to be talking with Wei Long. He was one of the prisoners who was pardoned by Governor Trump, by President Trump on his way out of office. We have a live clip with them talking to him on the commercial break tonight. So it's an exciting show. We could see our neighbors here pass legalization as soon as, I don't know, I'll let them talk about the dates, but it could happen soon. So we here in Kansas City, half of our friends and half of our families either work on one side of the line or live on the other, or vice versa. So this is huge and very important to the Kansas City community here to make sure that we're protected on our rights, and not only we're protected, but our neighbors, our friends and family that work and live on both sides. This is a huge issue for us. You see this very few other places, if not any places, where you have this major city on a state line divided, and it's a major protection issue for patients in Missouri to see that our neighbors have the same access that we do here in the state. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to this amazing lineup of guests tonight to talk about where Kansas is at now and what to look for and how we can support them as our neighbors. Take it away, guys.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and lead it off. My name's Sergeant Chris Wolfenbarger, retired, and I'm a combat medic in the Missouri National Guard, was before I retired, and I've been an advocate for this plant since I realized what options the VA didn't have for our veterans. But I'd like to start from one end of the table to the other, and maybe do a little bit deeper introduction on who's actually sitting at this table. The show's called Veterans on Cannabis. It's a tongue-in-cheek. We're all not on cannabis right now, but we believe that this topic warrants discussion and warrants consideration by the VA, and that's the expressed intent of this show. To say that this is one of the most powerhouse tables I've ever seen of veterans that are willing to speak forward on the topic of cannabis would be an understatement. And Todd Scattini, we miss you tonight very much, Lieutenant Colonel. But we've got Major General Todd Bunting. What's it, 8 years Adjutant General of Kansas? So he was 8 years the Adjutant General of Air and National Guard in Kansas. And that makes him the highest ranking officer in the state of Kansas for almost a decade. And to my knowledge, the highest ranking officer that has ever come forward on the topic of cannabis to speak greatly about it. And I'm going to quote you, if you don't mind.
Okay.
There'll come a day when we look square into the eyes of the Lord and we will have to answer about how we handled the opioid epidemic and the veteran suicide epidemic. And that is one of the things that keeps me going sometimes. Next to me, I can't believe this is actually happening. Next to me, we have Representative Randy Garber from Sabetha, Kansas, 20-year Navy veteran. And
look where you're at. Look at where you're at right now. You are surrounded by Navy and Air Force. Yeah, you should know better than.
Sounds like I got you right where I want you since I'm Army. It's a target-rich environment.
Yes, you are.
So one of the things about Representative Garber's advocacy for the legislation that's currently passed the Kansas House of Representatives is Sabetha's a very conservative area.
Very conservative area, yes, sir. It is.
And I would like to commend you on stepping forward in a conservative area like that and leading from the front leading for the right things. And for all veterans, voices are coming from mine right now saying thank you and we appreciate you.
Well, I have to agree with you, Chris. One day we will stand before God. And I believe that's one of the reasons I step forward.
Well, amen. Then on my far left, you're right on the screen, we have George Hanna. George Hanna is co-director of Kansas NORML. NORML is the National Organization for the Reformation of Marijuana Laws. He is a Navy veteran, and not just any Navy veteran. There's only two things that come in a can, sardines and submariners, and he was a submariner right there. And they're a special breed. They're always a special breed. Now, I'm going to just get it kicked off, and then I'm going to throw it to you two, because they've been working so hard in the Kansas legislature to get to where we are now. And then after we talk about where we are now, I'd like to hear a little bit about the Major General's efforts with some senators as we've been trying to move forward on that side. It has just passed the Kansas House of Representatives 79-42 for legal medical marijuana in Kansas. And that number is, wouldn't you call that overwhelming?
That's very significant, yes.
Yeah. Very
it's a very significant number. Of course, we have 125 in the House, and we were looking in between 75 and 80, so we're on the high side there. Actually, we would have had 80, but the one fellow that was going to vote for it had to leave. So we actually had 80 votes, and we had one other missing that might have voted for it, so we could have easily had 81.
Amazing.
And that's just fantastic.
No, as I'm a combat medic and a house appraiser, so the interworkings and the minutia of the Kansas legislature is beyond my ability to comprehend.
Mine too.
It's beyond a lot of people.
It's tough. So where does it go from here? We've passed the House overwhelmingly, and now we're heading to the Senate.
Well, this is the interesting thing that happened today. As we were sitting there in our 4.5-hour debate with multiple amendments that some got on and some didn't, I noticed the President of the Senate walking back to the Speaker's office, and I thought, well, that's kind of strange. So we passed the bill, and then I found out that possibly they're going to stay another day because they were planning on, from what I heard, they were planning on adjourning tonight for the session. And they're coming back tomorrow, so it's interesting what could happen. There's several things that could happen. There could be a motion to concur on the Senate floor tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. There could be a motion to non-concur and send it to a conference committee, or there could be no action at all. There might be I don't know if there's anything else that could happen or not. But.
Well, and I think we've sent a nice clear signal to the Senate that, this is a thoroughly vetted bill. I mean, we've got, some of us have thousands of hours invested in this, but I think if you back up to when it was in committee, we spent 5 days in committee, and that is, that I'm not going to say it's unheard of, but I mean, typically an average bill spends 1 day in committee, maybe 2 if there's going to be a lot of testimony, but to spend 5 days is a significant amount of time. And then it goes to the House floor, and then it comes back into committee to continue working on this. And we spent the entire break, which is nearly a month, it's 3 weeks long, working, this gentleman in particular, tirelessly working with the opposition to come to a compromise in the middle. And I've said it, and then we've all heard it at some point or another. A good bill or a good deal is when everybody walks away not getting everything they wanted. And that's exactly what we have. We have a equitable bill that is a good foundation for Kansas for both patients and business, that has been thoroughly vetted by the opposition, law enforcement, the medical community, and the patients themselves. And for it to come to the floor and then get worked with 125 other representatives and come out with that strong of a vote sends a clear signal that this is a responsible bill that I think Kansas can be proud of. And I encourage the Senate to look at it that way and take this up.
Well, I would encourage everyone that's watching the show to contact your senators tonight and let them know what your feelings are on it. Please read the bill. And if you feel like this is something that you'd like to get behind, then I'd encourage you to tell your senators that you would appreciate what's the term?
Yes vote.
A yes vote. I thought we had to have something, a concurrence. A concurrence. See, I told you the big words we're going to get.
There you go, you bet.
A concurrence to start it off, and then a yes vote to end it off.
Well, and if I could jump in real fast, I want to make sure that people, recognize that there is opposing views on this, and do it in a respectful way, because we've worked really hard to get where we're at, and the last thing we want to do is pardon my language, is throw a turd in a punch bowl, because we can agree to disagree depending on who we're talking to.
Right.
So when you do reach out, if they happen to be in opposition, thank them for their service still, because they are, it's brutal when you run for public office and campaign, and you're not going to make everybody happy.
And I think people need to realize that politicians are people too. And if you are confronted, you're more likely to back off. If you're talked to like you talk to normal people, like your mother, you might get listened to.
That's a great segue into part of the way this conversation and part of the way this legislature got as far as it did, was we stopped yelling at each other and started talking and having a conversation about the benefits of this plant, about the benefits of this medicine, and about the ramifications of leadership denying access to this medicine to Kansas. And at that point, I'd like to bring in Major General Todd Bunting. At what point did you decide, I was in narcotics enforcement for decades, I think I need to be an advocate for marijuana?
That's a great question. I was for the longest time. So I would have been one of those hard no's. I would have probably been hard to talk to. And I can't speak entirely for them, but when you have spent a part of your life where you're around the part of the illegal part of the drug trade, those are some of the worst people that you would ever meet. Right. And so it will put an impression on you where you sit there and go, why would we ever want to be a part of that? And for the longest time, any drug was treated that way, and marijuana, as we all know, needs to be changed in how it's viewed. But the two things for me, one is when I came to understand that we're talking about it now as a medicine, so it's medical marijuana, it's not anything else. Right. And then in life experiences, having now, once I retired and deal with a lot of veterans issues, with Heroes Among Us and a variety of things, a veteran training farm. That's how you and I met through the Wounded Warrior activities, various ones. And then you see its unbelievable effect on chronic pain and on anxiety. And so the story I would tell you is that 3 years into this war, when I was Adjutant General in 2006, we had 5 soldiers killed in action. I'd buried 5 American heroes. And at the same time, we'd had 5 people commit suicide after they came home. And I have said this, and I'll say it forever, I'm only going to fight one enemy at a time.
Amen.
I'm not going to fight this, so I got to do something. Now, there was only so much that I could do when I was in, and now that I'm in, I'm just trying to be a voice. And I can also admit that when it comes to marijuana, I was wrong. Okay? And I have a lot of dear friends in law enforcement that I respect, and we all talked about that. We fought the war on drugs and set aside whether we won or not. We understand we need to separate it from everything else. And so from that, when I saw the suicide or people that were in trouble, that I think they've had some success. But they risk it all to do that, especially in my home state of Kansas. You can't give you any specific stories because right now it's still something you can't openly talk about.
Right.
But I saw that happen unequivocally. And then in my own, you'll have at some point in time, and I know Representative Garver, Randy and I talked about this, anybody, so I'm going to switch from the military and PTSD to this, in my opinion, and I talked to a couple people today. Once you reach a point in your life where a person that is close to you, that you love, which is for some of us not very many, but hopefully you have somebody, and they have pain and it cannot be mitigated reasonably by anything else, and somebody says there is something that could help with that, you will do that. You will do everything in your power, and you will risk everything you have to go and get that solution. And I am one of those people, okay? And that's probably I should say about that. And then, so my advocacy is that isn't correct, that you should risk that.
Amen.
So if there is a veteran or anybody in Kansas that has a loved one that needs this potential help, they should not put themselves at risk to go and do that. So my advocacy is for veterans and to the crisis of 22, and it's for the people with chronic pain and conditions of which, again, I experienced that. So I was already an advocate, but I was an involved advocate, but I became a passionate advocate when I saw how it can change quality of life for people, whether they served or not. And when you talk about the fact that we will be judged, that's a strong thing to say. But I think we will, and I have the highest regard for Representative Garber for not only for his service, but for the fact of the stance that he took. And the way I say it too, in that, besides that being judged, is that I just decided I'm not just going to sit and watch and wish. I'm going to do something.
Right.
And so what I appeal to people is quit watching and wishing, and get out there and do something. Get your hands dirty and get into this thing. And I'm proud of the people in Kansas and our legislators that have voted so overwhelmingly, and I'm hoping our Senate will do the right thing, because we have to do something about those two crises. And I haven't found anybody who can bring me anything that shows me there's anything better or a better tool that we can at least add to our toolbox than this product. And so I'm proud to be a part of that, and I'm proud that this man took the stance that he did and 77 of his colleagues. And so sometimes you wonder if you're really on the right side of things, and if people are going to get in it with you. When you see 78 people do that, it's like, okay, I'm still in this fight. I think it's, I disagree with some of the others, but politely. But that's what gets me up every day. It says, okay, we're gonna at least make a difference. We're going to do something besides watching and wishing.
Well said. I'm gonna go out on a limb, gentlemen, and say that this is probably the most unusual looking, the most unusual experienced, and the most unusual direction that any pro-cannabis panel has ever come from.
And I just want to chime in real quick, Chris, to bring one more person into the panel here. We have Senator Haley that's on the Zoom call now. So you guys want to see if he can hear you?
I don't have Senator Haley yet.
I see his name.
I see a name.
Hey, Senator, can you hear me? We can see your name. If you talk to us, we'll see if we got you online here with us.
And if you can turn your video on, if you have that option.
For those of you that don't know anything about Senator Haley has been one of the senior senators in Kansas from Kansas City, Kansas, for I think 117 years. It's been quite a while.
He's been around
quite a while.
30 something.
But he was the very first person in the Kansas legislature to put forward medical marijuana legislation all by himself, no co-author, in 2009. And he saw it as a need in his community, and he's been an advocate and a warrior for it since then. So that's
why they keep reelecting him. Is he a warrior for his district?
Absolutely.
We'll see if you guys can continue on. We'll see if we can get him on there.
Well,
Let me say something about
yes, please.
what General Bunting said, Todd. 6 months ago, I wasn't on board. Just so you know, I had no idea what was this was the course that I was going to take. I asked when they send out what they call a dream sheet for the legislature, I asked for Fed and state. I didn't know why I asked for it, but I just felt like that's where I was supposed to be.
Okay.
And then they come up with this bill, 2184, and I'm going, oh, medical marijuana. Okay. And then we have the testimonies. Right. And you have people come in with their kid that shares how much it has helped them to have their son back.
Right.
Yep. And then we have people like Ken Hostler, who is another veteran who has a CBD Nation store in Topeka, give his testimony about how it's helped with his degenerative back disease or whatever it is that he has. It's degenerative back disease. And I said, wow. And of course we have Bob Corkins from Frontier Peace give his testimony, and George. And I caught Ken afterwards because his really, I wanted to talk to the lady, but I didn't get a hold of her. And I talked to Ken. I said, Ken, I'd like to talk to you in my office. So he came up and I said, tell me a little more about this. So he kind of shared how it helped him. And I said, do you have anybody else I can talk to? Well, it's amazing. Since that 2 months ago, I guess it was about, it seemed like every week somebody new comes up and talks to me and says, let me tell you my story. So I'm going, this is real, and I can't ignore it. So here I am.
Yeah. Well, I commend you for being at the table, and I commend you for not ignoring it. How much does it help to have veterans, especially veteran leaders like Major General Bunting, stumping for this topic?
Well, I think it helps
as you go back to your district.
Sure, I think it helps a lot, and we have veterans in my district that I know have PTSD and other disorders that I haven't talked to, and they haven't really come forward to me yet, which I will be probably getting in touch with and asking them, what do you know about this, and have you ever? So, yeah, it's going to be an open door for me. Again, I'm from a very conservative district, but I believe that hopefully I've earned the respect of the people there, and while they may not agree with me, but I have asked a few, and they say, well, yeah, we're okay with that. So,
and I want to point out how profound the number 79 really is, or 78 really is. There's 39 Democrats out of 125. So that means you have an equal number of Republicans that have voted for this as well. I mean, it is absolutely right down the middle of bipartisan bill. And, I'm not somebody who backs down from a fight. And I met these gentlemen a few years ago when we were loosely talking about, Kansas veterans for medical cannabis. And as we continue going, my position within the party and my political background has given me the ability to, I hate to call myself a lobbyist because I used to hate lobbyists, and I hate to call myself a political strategist because, well, I always thought they were wrong. However, I find myself being both of those. And when I first started working this bill on behalf of the coalition in Kansas NORML, one of the most frequent things I got is Garber's carrying this amendment? And because, this gentleman, he gets it, but he's traditionally known as a very conservative Republican, and there were people that were shocked that he was carrying it. But the more you dig into this, and the more you look at the research, and the more you understand what's going on with the plant, and the more people you talk to, the more you realize it sells itself. It really does, because everybody has been touched by an illness in one form or another, and that this plant can help. And to your point, part of the reason why I went Navy submarines is my entire family is Air Force. I have 2 generals and a colonel in my family is Air Force. And So I, of course, said, I'm going to go down in a submarine instead. I'm not going to go up in the sky. But, I have tremendous love and respect for my grandfather. He flew 27 missions over Europe during World War II. He was a candy pilot. He flew in Korea. He flew in Vietnam. And if it had a propeller, he flew it. And he stayed at home with my grandmother for 8 years while she had Alzheimer's. And he was buying medicine from Germany. He was buying it from Canada. He was buying it anywhere he could get his hands on to help her quality of life. So when you bring that into your own family, and you will reach out to get whatever it takes, legal or otherwise, because you can't just go off and spend $10,000 of medication and have it shipped into the United States, but he will do it. But now we can do this legally, hopefully, in Kansas in the next few days and get this ball rolling. So in a couple of years, when this goes on, we can start medicating people that deserve it in Kansas.
I think we've got Senator Haley on.
There he is.
Senator Haley, when General Bunting and Lieutenant Colonel Toscatini and I came down and talked to some of the senators about this bill and about moving forward, a good friend of yours, Frank Harrison, asked me to come see you, and he asked me to tell you to vote yes. And I'd like to reiterate that today. If it comes to a vote tomorrow, I'd love your vote. So proud of you and the work that you've done.
So today has been an exciting day. Tomorrow, as has been mentioned, I'm sure comes here to the Senate side. I'm still here in the Capitol. It's an exciting time, and for each of us that have been advocates, and I think I've been probably, I know I'm the longest advocate for ensuring that we have access to medical marijuana in Kansas, starting first in 2009. And getting to this point, I can't tell you, gentlemen, what it means just to see it clear one chamber. I was on an interview earlier, and I'm thinking, wow, to get choked up that the learning curve of the Kansas legislature, which when I started with the solo bill 12 years ago, only knew two other states, primarily Colorado and Washington State, that we would finally get it this much longer when, as you know, 3/4 of America now has access. It's not a slam dunk. There are people in the Senate leadership, my leaders, who still don't quite get it. And tomorrow, Friday, is a real significant day. And I don't know if we're out of the woods yet.
Well, I had a whole bunch of witty things to say when you told me we had this slang thing, a slam dunk, and now that we're not out of the woods, what can our viewers do? What can your voters do, and what can the average Joe do to let their senators know just exactly how they feel about medical cannabis in a respectful way?
Well, thank you for asking. And there are several who need to hear it for sure. So this was passed in a Senate bill. The simplest thing to do would be to ask the senators in different districts. Don't worry about the senator from the 4th district representing my county, Kansas City. I'm good.
Okay, so we got one.
But to ask that they concur, that the Senate concurs with 158, Senate Bill 158, which is the amendment that the House made that would provide this medical cannabis. By the way, I'm no fan of the bill. It is one of the weakest, most restrictive incarnations of all the ones that I've seen. It's really a piece of work that they put together. It has so many hoops and changes. And when you look at the backdrop of the surrounding states, of all of our surrounding states, we are still the big hole in a donut of opportunity. All around us, our fellow citizens will have an access superior to ours if Senate Bill 158 is agreed to by the Senate. But to answer your question again, it's a baby step after more than a decade of just trying to bring common sense and the will of the people of the majority of Kansas
Amen.
to the fore. So,
Well, I was almost about to start taking offense a little bit because I've worked so hard on this. While I would agree with you on just about every point you made, but you've got to be getting tired of seeing me running around the Capitol as it is. So, I mean, if you want to get rid of me, the best thing to do is make sure this passes in the Senate. But I do think it's a good foundation, and obviously Normal wants to see cannabis laws progress positively, all the way through. And yes, I would agree that it's a very restrictive bill, and I think that our Senate colleagues, your colleagues, need to hear that. It is restrictive. It is not a bill that is, quote, recreational light. This isn't a bill that you should be afraid of. This is a bill that, in all likelihood, is going to answer some of those questions that the conservatives that are apprehensive on this, those questions have been asked and answered, and hopefully to their satisfaction where they're comfortably and willing to pass this. We're working on legislation for criminal justice reform. We're working on certainly some other bills where we can start addressing some of the way that minorities have been taken advantage of. And I mean, we are just beginning on this bill, and I look forward to the next several years on developing this.
Well, you just gave me a disincentive for working hard to get it passed, because I'd like to see you around the Capitol more often. I don't want you to
Well, thank you. I cut my hair and then I grew it out my face. So
Classic. So I'm gonna do what we call in the military a back brief, Senator. That's where I repeat back what you said to make sure that I understand it, because I'm the dumbest guy in the room for sure.
Army.
Army, yeah, that's right. The first thing that Kansas citizens can do is they can immediately write their senators and ask for concurrence on Bill 158, and then a yes vote for this version of medical cannabis, so we can get the ball rolling in Kansas. Is that accurate?
Affirmative.
Outstanding.
Affirmative.
Outstanding.
The Senate Bill 158, and the way to email is depending on what the senator, and it's always great to hear from in district, from the district, though it's good to have them from all over. It is the first name dot last name at senate.ks.gov is going to be the email address for everyone. How do you find out who your state senator might be? It's available online by going to kslegislature.org. That's kslegislature.org. And then double clicking on Find My Legislator in one of the, or Find My Senator in the drop down box. And it'll ask you to put in some identifier. I think it's a zip code, or there's something that will pull up who the senator is. And then to send an email, which will be right there, and which is the first dot last name of the of that senator at senate.ks.gov. And then to send a very brief email, probably in the subject line, please support Senate Bill 158 today. I mean, now the key person who may be the bottleneck to let it run is Senator Ty Masterson. And he is our Senate president. And it's amazing that the will of the people that democracy can be thwarted by an individual or two in the Senate leadership as to whether or not Senate Bill 158 is even called up. And that is the big issue, another potential hurdle that has to be overcome. I appreciate the reflections that you've given for so many reasons across the board. My neighbor across the street, who served in the Marines for years, was a sergeant for a long time, and who has PTSD. And he's pretty conservative in his politics. Let's just say we weren't flying the same flags during last November's election. And he asked me, could there be something I could do, knowing how committed I am to this issue? Isn't there something that I could do to ensure this got through? This gentleman goes all across the board of the political and social diaspora, not only in our state, but in our country. In criminal justice reform, in terms of addressing with more holistic approaches to some of the ills and the maladies that we suffer from post-traumatic stress syndrome, from glaucoma, from seizures, from a host of maladies, and not having to rely upon often addictive and sometimes fatal opioids and other prescription drugs. I don't know. I'm sorry. I guess I'm preaching to the choir, but the advocacy is so crucial. It really is. And now is that time to do that.
I'm about to uncork a little bit about myself that most people don't know. I'm a 1980 or 1991 graduate of Central Missouri State University with a degree in public relations. And we used to have back then it was the rule of 10,000. If a like a member of the House or a member of the Senate received a letter from a constituent, it was viewed as 10,000 people agreeing with that. Now, I'm sure with email and the ease of online contact that number has gone down. But if we flooded inboxes with please concur with Bill 158 and then vote yes emails, how much of an impact do you think we're really going to have on that?
I think it will.
Oh, we lost him. Lost audio.
Senator Haley, if you can hear me, can you pause for 1 second?
There you go. He's coming in and out a little bit.
Oh, here, I don't know what it's doing. Actually, this is from my cousin who served in the military. She's so I don't know if she's watching or not. But anyway,
okay.
I'll call her back. I think it will. The problem is, will the bill be able to run for a vote? And again, that bottleneck is potentially Senate President Ty Masterson. He's out of Butler County, and also acting Majority Leader Larry Alley. He's from Cowley County. He is acting in the stead of former Majority Leader Gene Sullentrop, and out of Sedgwick County, who is handling some issues that were difficult for the legislature to absorb. And then I've got to learn how to be a little better, a little more political.
That was good.
You walked the tightrope on that.
That was good.
You walked the tightrope. That was well played.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
And then there's the vice president, Rick Wilborn, Senator Wilborn, and he is out of Lindsborg, out of McPherson County. These probably among them are the four who will decide if the bill is up for a vote or not. We would need 27 others to bring the bill up with if it's below the line for debate. It would take 27 of the 40 of us. From my count, we probably have 20. I don't know, because a lot of in the Senate are new and have never had this vote before. We had the votes within the last 4 years to advance it, to advance a lot stronger bill than Senate Bill 158 as it's currently presented. I just don't know what we have now because we have a whole new crop. 14 of the 40 are new. This year, this is their first year.
Well, Senator Haley, we've got a question from one of our audience members. If passed in the Senate, how long until implementation?
So the outlying year for this is 2022 to begin, because of course we got to go through, there'll be various protocols to follow.
Yes, sir.
And, I should have pulled up the bill. I had.
I was going to say, Senator, if I could interrupt, there was actually an amendment that was placed in that pushed it out to 2023. Now, that is, of course, the deadline to establish the rules with the rules and regulations. Now, the various secretaries and the direction of the governor could certainly pick that up and speed that up considerably. Which, that's going to be my next mission is to. We need to establish a patient count and patient protocol first, just so businesses know what they're dealing with as we go along. But right now, I think it's 2023, Senator.
July 2023.
Yes, that is correct. And there were they had some other amendments too, some that I supported or would have supported that were really good that the House had in full debate. We probably don't want to have the full debate in the Senate. We should just concur. If they bring it up to throw us a bone, that being that same leadership, they say, well, we'll put it on the floor for debate as a concession, they might say, then, I think it could be, it might bog it down a bit. I'd rather just agree with whatever the House has sent over, and we'll take it as a concession bill and move forward toward that 2023 date, meeting those conditions and protocols.
And I want to point out real fast also that from a vetting perspective is the chair of the House, Fed and State, is a former federal judge. I mean, this is not his first rodeo in dealing with issues like this. So for it to come out of his committee and go through the House the way it has, again, this has been looked at by some very attentive and skeptical minds, and they have come out and still in support of this. So I really hope the Senate recognizes that and agrees to concur on this.
Mm-hmm. I do too.
We also we have another question from one of our viewers, but before we do, I want to ask you a question from me to you. When I met you the very first time when I was in your office, I saw a man that was weary of fighting this fight. To my knowledge, this is the first time since you initiated the very first bill in 2009 that it's made it out of committee, got onto the floor, and passed a House of either side of the Senate or either side of the legislature. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
How does it feel to be that kind of forerunner, Senator?
It's been an emotional day. Again, it's mixed emotions because it's taken so long. When we're looking at what's happening across the rest of the country, I just want the same quality of life and the same opportunities for Kansans, my native state, as other people enjoy in other states. And that's all I've ever wanted, whether it's access to choosing healthcare alternatives that can enhance their lives, or the whole gamut of the things that get us up every morning to get us out and fighting for our better communities and our families and the future of our state as a destination where people want to live. It's mixed emotions because we're falling behind. We are, as you know, one of 4 states left now that still don't have that access. And I wonder why we have to always be embraced as retro or regressive or prohibitionists when the rest of the country get it. It's mixed emotions because it's a Pyrrhic victory if we win tomorrow, because we still won't have equality with surrounding states. I live in Kansas City. I represent Kansas City, Kansas in the Senate. But across the 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes away from my district in Kansas, should 158 pass, it will still be easier access in the state of Missouri, in the city of Kansas City, Missouri. And why do we have to be second-class citizens for access and for obvious issues is still something that bothers me and causes me to be happy and sad in the same face, in the same heart, on the same day.
Yes, sir. I completely understand what you're saying there. We have a question from one of our viewers. Will home cultivation ever be considered as part of a legal cannabis medicine program in Kansas?
So part of the concern by some of the opponents are, the ability to home cultivate, or where in fact there would be a stamp or a tax for the regulation. The argument has been made that if it's a quality of care issue, then gauging the efficacy of the plant and of the grow is important. So as we know, in other states, you could certainly grow and maintain a certain amount. I don't know. I don't think 158, I could stand corrected. I'm pretty sure 158 does not allow that. I'm looking around, I'm holding my phone in one hand here and say, what did I do with that? But I did have the bill. It's not a very long bill. It's not as thick as some have been. But I don't know with the amendments what it has.
Well, we're starting to get flooded with some questions from our viewers that are going to dilute the conversation from what we're really trying to do right now. So we'll answer your questions online, viewers. We'll get back to you. But Todd Scattini, my co-host on the show, he says this is a leadership issue. And I would like to personally commend the senator, the representative, and the major general, and George on taking the necessary steps to lead in spite of a position that might not be the most popular where you're from. And I really would like to thank you as a veteran, for all Kansas veterans, that we're going to at least have some form of medical cannabis. And maybe as that program shows benefits, then the legislature on both sides will be able to see that and maybe fine tune it a little bit to get it to be more of what Kansas patients really want and need. But in the meantime, concur and vote yes on Bill 158. And if you are in Ty Masterson's Butler County, is it Larry Alley?
Larry Alley, Callaway County.
Callaway County, and then Mark Wilborn.
Rick Wilborn.
Rick Wilborn, sorry about that. I can't read my own writing. If you're in any of their districts, again, you can find them by going to kslegislature.org and look up your senator, and then send an email directly to them, firstname.lastname@kansas.gov, and let them know how important concurrence is for you as a voting member of their constituency, and then how much a vote yes would mean on the floor tomorrow. Now, I know that. Go ahead, Senator.
It may not hurt to call either. I mean, the phone numbers for the office will be there too. So you'll get the voicemail, of course, tonight. But even leaving a voicemail or calling tomorrow may too. We go in at 10 a.m. in the morning.
Yes, sir. Well, what we're going to do on our end then here from Evolution Magazine is we're going to list all of the contact points so that our viewers can just click right on it and go right where they need to go to get their voices heard. Now, Major General, you've been working with senators because you knew that the House was falling in line with 158. how much traction have you received from, because you specifically targeted senators that you knew we needed to move from negative to neutral?
Some, yes, and some House members too.
Yes, sir.
Let me just stop for a second though and say, Senator, it's good to see you deal with each other during the wartime. So I don't know if you caught my earlier remarks, but I see the strength of your character and what you're doing here, and I've said this to Representative Garber. But we have these two crises that are particular to veterans in particular, but the whole country, which is the opioid crisis and the suicide crisis, which is what brought me to be involved. And the way I say that, sir, is that we must do something, not just watch and wish. And I just want to look right at you here. I wish we were in person and say, I want to thank you as being somebody who's doing way more than just watching and wishing. And you just need to hear that as a veteran. I don't ever speak on behalf of veterans, for them, but I speak on their behalf. And so I want to thank you for that from 12 years ago. And I remember that 12 years ago. We've both been a part of times when you're kind of lonely in a room and you're doing the right thing, but you still got to do that right thing. And I appreciate what Representative Garber did. So I just wanted to say that to you. And I do know a few of the senators, not as many, but I've reached out to a few. And I think the biggest thing we have to do, we're out of time now, is just get people to understand that there's way more people advocate for this than they may realize. And it's not recreational light. That's not what we're doing here. Sometimes in life there are steps and segues, and in this case, this is what it is right now in front of us, just to help solve these two crises. And so that would be my message when I reach out to people. And most of the time when I talk to them, they were surprised that I was involved. But I said, well, you have to understand there's more to this. This is saving lives and improving quality of lives. And like what Randy said, 120 days ago, he may be, just with 1,000 issues, he didn't have a chance to see what this was. When you get those personal testimonials, is I think when it really can change how you see it. And I had a lot of those, and then even had some in my immediate family. So do you have a thought along that line? Do you think those personal stories, if people have the means, are what can maybe turn people to understand how personal it is to them, that this is not this just giant industry, but this is where every family sooner or later is going to probably need some help with this? Did that resonate with you, that you've seen the real life stories of how this has either saved lives or improved the quality of lives?
Time and time again, and Major General Bunton, thank you for your service, your continued service, and as importantly, the advocacy that you bring, because you've always spoken with a certain clarity and authority that people pay attention to. I guess it's not just from the standpoint of the chain of command, but because you bring reason and passion to your advocacies. And I was pleased to hear that you were going to be with us today. I wish I could be there in person. Again, I'm still stuck in Topeka. I want to be here bright and early in the morning, and we didn't finish until late, but it would have been good to have visited with you and to have been there with each of you in studio tonight, but I'm still here. Yes, indeed, we hear constantly about that. I started as a prosecutor. I was assistant DA in Wyandotte County. That's what brought me back home to Kansas. And people often say, well, of all people, David, that you're pushing to have this. But again, the ripple effect of how we are able to provide. And when you really just get beyond the hype, when you get beyond what many people grew up believing, the reefer madness era, and you look at all around the world, and especially now in the U.S., the data that shows that this is a holistic approach to healthcare. And those cases that we hear about, those people that we talk to and that we've seen, I have to share this personal story. My mother passed 2.5 years ago, stage 4 cancer, breast cancer, and she was in Maryland, where our family had moved to, and the oncologist was there and said, "Well, Doris, I don't know what else to tell you. I know you're in pain, and what you might want to do is to try marijuana. Have you thought about doing that? I'd like to put you on this." Here is this New York oncologist, an older woman, very disciplined in her approach. And gentlemen, the most surprising and rewarding thing when that diagnosis was given, she turned to me, my mother did, slowly, and looked at me, and her mouth dropped, her jaw dropped, because here her legislator, former prosecutor, son, who's been talking about medicinal marijuana to ease her pain from stage 4 breast cancer all this time, was affirmed by people who are supposedly more in the know, like her oncologist.
Yeah.
It's something that I'll hold forever. Our son finally got a little respect, for his
I think it's hysterical that you could be a legislator in the Kansas Senate and still kind of looked at sideways by your mom every time you brought up the idea of medical marijuana. How much more successful did she need you to be before she started listening? But
when you're a parent, you always wonder if your kids know what they're talking about when they try to give you advice. So it helped me a lot.
Yes, sir. Well, from the whole panel, let me just be the first to say I'm sorry for your loss, and I'm pleased that you were able to get that validation. But let me ask you the hard question: did your mother receive relief from that medicine?
She passed 3 weeks later, so she did not. That was 3 weeks before she passed, and that was September that she got the recommendation, and she passed October 6th. So I had just gone back. So she did not.
And I'm sorry to hear that, sir. Sorry to hear that.
Thank you. But she went on with a certain validation that her son was not completely.
I love it.
Oh, we got a son that's a senator, and she's still not sure he's got it all together. Yeah. That's only a mother. Only a mother. I'm gonna wrap this up a little bit. I know that you've got a ton of work to do tonight on the Hill, and would really appreciate your wisdom and letting us know what challenges lie ahead of us from the Senate side. But I wanted to thank the representative from, I want to make sure I get it right, Sabetha, Kansas, Representative Garber, for pushing this forward. Because when people think about legal cannabis, you're not the image that comes into their mind.
No.
And to have esteemed leaders that have been elected by populations and veteran leaders like the general step forward and say this is what's best for the citizenry of our state. You're going out on a limb. Heck, even your mom wasn't sure. And and as a regular Joe, as a regular veteran, just a regular old guy, I just want to let you all know how much we appreciate your courageous leadership.
Well, thank you.
And if you're viewing here today, we will have the links to the Kansas .legislature or kansaslegislator.org so that you can tell your senators, please concur and please vote yes on 158. George, what am I missing?
Well, I was going to bring up Colonel Scatini a little bit and say that his testimony that he provided, I think, was very compelling to me, because you've got veterans that have been willing to put their lives on the line for the history of this country, and for when he said that when he crosses the bridge from Missouri into Kansas, he feels like a criminal, and as a fellow veteran, that hurts. I mean, that's very disheartening for a fellow veteran to feel like a criminal just simply for crossing a state line. And I've certainly been advocating for this for a very long time, but when you have other fellow veterans that relate to it like that, it still hurts and makes me want to fight even more. And when Representative Garber was willing to not back down from a fight and take this, again, it just shows that while oftentimes veterans seem to be used as a pawn in this argument, none of us are backing down from it, and we're not being patronized or used. We are the tip of the spear when it comes to this issue, and
absolutely,
and it doesn't take not bringing in party politics. You're not bringing in anything other than common sense and a veteran's word on it. So, I very much appreciate sitting on this panel with you guys. I have appreciated working with you guys over the last few years, actually, and I'm proud to have drugged Representative Garber up here. And threw him in the back of the car and said, "Let's go." And it's been a pleasure.
Well, guys, I think we're going to take a quick little break, commercial break here. Wow, what an amazing first half of the show. This was all the universe planned this out for us, because we obviously this show's happening on the forefront of it, passing the House and then potentially passing the Senate. Senator Haley, thank you so much for joining us on the show. We're going to have a second half of the show. I'm not sure if you'll be able to stick around or not, but we'll find out that here on the commercial break. Stick around, tag a friend, bring them into this conversation, especially if you're one of us Kansas Cityans here that are living just on a state line divided here. We have friends, we have family, we have people that work and live on both sides of the state here that are affected by these decisions that the senators are going to make here tomorrow. So make sure you reach out and have your voice heard, okay? This is the final hours that could lead up to something great for not only Kansas City, but all of Kansas as well. So we're going to take a little commercial break here. We're going to check in with the Cannabis Project. They have Wei Long, who was one of the prisoners that was granted clemency by President Trump on his way out of office. Cannabis reach out to him. We have a little 15-minute video here of their conversations with him, as well as what's happened recently with the Cannabis Project, and then a couple of commercials, and we're going to come back live because we have tons of questions that you guys have asked. We've been collecting those. We're going to put those up on the screen here shortly. Please continue to bring those questions and conversations in. Tag a friend for the competition for a two free gift cards to COCO Dispensaries, and also if you have a friend out there who does not have their certification yet here in Missouri, tag them with the word CERT, and we're going to give away a free medical card certification. So let's take a little break with the Cannabis Project.
Hey guys, Chris and Christine with the Cannabis Project. Hope you're enjoying the show. We've got a special guest with us tonight, Wei Long, who was just released on a clemency from President Trump in January after serving 25 years for a nonviolent cannabis offense.
So I reached out to Wei last Friday, and we got to chat for about an hour, and he's a wonderful human being. We went around the world, and we wanted to share his experience with you. Wei, you want to introduce yourself?
Well, my name is Wei Long. I was born in Laos of a Chinese ancestry. We ended up in the U.S. after the Vietnam War, and I grew up in Iowa in the mid-'80s. I moved to California. One thing led to another, and I ended up in jail with a marijuana case. I was framed, and they found me guilty before the trial was over. On direct appeal, they wouldn't let me represent myself. Then on the post-conviction petition, I put it in with a lot of evidence, and they just kind of like swept me under the rug. And the judge pretty much denied me about 7 years after my petition was put in. He just denied me without an evidentiary hearing, and he just pretty much retired. It might be his last judicial act. The system is corrupt.
Absolutely. How many years did they sentence you to?
They sentenced me to 50 years. A lot of the charges is phony. They charge me with so many phony crimes. But, you throw enough paint on the wall, something going to stick. That's what happened to me.
How many different facilities were you housed in over those 25 years?
I started out in U.S. Penitentiary, Lompoc. I was there from let me see the day about, I think May 18, they got there. And they shipped me out on February 28th. And I ended up in a USP Edgewater to around the week of Christmas, 2010. Then they just shipped me to Victorville, and I spent the rest of the time in Victorville too. Then to President Trump, grant me clemency. Forever grateful for Mr. President Trump.
How did that feel to receive that news?
Oh, it's kind of like the case manager to come on the door and just knock. As soon as they knocked, I knew I'm free over there. I told my friend Sally, I said, "Hey, I'm free. See you later, sucker." And it's pretty much like I just walk out. I forgot to say goodbye to all my friends.
What day was it that you were released officially?
January 20th.
January 20th.
Yeah,
so
they notified me roughly around 12 o'clock, Then they didn't kick me out till like about roughly 4 o'clock before the count, and they shoot me out of there quick.
That's good to hear.
Mm-hmm. It was quite a journey. Go ahead.
What have you been doing with yourself since you've been released? How have you been enjoying your life out here as a free man?
Well, in a way, I'm a stranger in this new land away in Seattle. I'm from California. I don't know this land, but I'm fortunate to have my younger brother, so I stayed with him since the release. You just say stay out of trouble, man. When you get an off-supervised release, and just go anywhere you want. So it's kind of like I pretty much coop up in the house. It's just too much water around this area. In the past 2 weeks, it's okay, a little sun, so I get a little tan out there. And last week, like at the 420 weeks, we went to Florida with Kristen Flo, she accompanied me, take me around. Just like when I first got here, it's the first activist I met. I also met Kurt and Tracy Glow. And who do I met over there? Or Jeff Eichen, with Wednesday, Jeff Eichen, I met him. And I also met most of the Seattle Ham people, the one that's on the board and stuff. I talked to him like about 2-3 times already. They were nice people around this area, but I'm just a new kid in town. Basically, I just coop up in this room. What you guys see me is where I sleep with all my junk, I'm fortunate to have a place.
I was super excited to see you out on the ocean or out on the Gulf with Stephanie and Kristen and all of them. It was super cool to see you guys out there. How did it feel to finally be out on the water again? Did you ever think that you would ever get that opportunity?
Oh, I thought, a long time ago, they actually offered me a time-served deal. I was in a USP Lompoc before the appeal was filed. They got one of those fixer attorney. He just come in one day, he never filed my direct appeal. He just come in and say, hey, the government, it's kind of like under the table, not going to admit it. They say, time-served deal, you plead guilty. I tell him, hell no. I was actually innocent. I was framed. And plus one issue I wanted him to file for me because the jury was biased. They found me guilty before the trial was over. And they let, stipulate with the court, the prosecutor, the judge, and the attorney, they stipulate to waive my right, for impartial jury trial. But I didn't know about that till I, got sentenced, everything, till I got the paperwork. That's crazy, though. And I was not allowed to file, I represent myself on direct appeal either. And they just basically forced a lot of attorney on me because I paid for the attorney. The first one, he tried to give me a time-served deal saying I'm actually innocent. What I want you to do is just file, the juror bias issue. He said he would do it, going to do it, but he never did. As soon as I received a petition, he filed him to take a hike, and they say they're going to, the court basically say, if I don't like what the attorney do it myself. I say, hell no, you're going to make me do it myself. You're going to waive my, make me choose between two constitutional rights. So they appoint me an attorney. They say they're going to inform me. They never informed me. One day, maybe about 2 months later, I received a duplicate brief. It's the first attorney. It's with a different name in there. So I filed to get rid of them. Then they appoint me another attorney. I said, I don't want an attorney. I represent myself. You are here to railroad me because all the evidence proof, I was actually innocent. But the system is corrupt.
Yes. It's extremely corrupt. I mean, the system has been doing this for to so many families and so many innocent people for so long, just to close the case and just to have an arrest, just to fill their quotas. And it's the innocent lives like you guys, and it's just unfair. It's so good to see you back out of prison.
I see it all the time where innocent people have to accept pleas because they don't want to accept pleas, but they have to get convictions is what I meant to say, because they're fighting their innocence and they don't want to accept a plea and admit guilt because there is not guilt. And you lost 25 years of your life because you didn't want to admit guilt that was not there. And that is so unjust. I know that you've been trying to reconnect with all of your family that you haven't had an opportunity to see. You have a couple children. I believe they're twins. You want to talk a little bit about them?
When they were asked me, my twin son, they was like roughly 6 years old. About maybe a week or two, they turned 6 and they basically grow out without a father. Figure that's real hard.
So I heard you touch on something that's really important to everyone here in Missouri, and that's Adela. And you said Adela was the very first person that reached out to you. And she's been such a lovely, longtime advocate and has had her feet on the ground for years and years. And we touched on this last Friday, but her situation that's going on here in Missouri, let us know how you feel about that and what a call to action to the public you'd like for them to do on her behalf.
Jury nullification. That's all you need to hear. Just say no, not guilty. That's it. Don't worry about the system. They're too corrupt, you know. You got the right, you know, not to say no, guilty. That's all you have to do, to roll your conscience. Because they pretty much, I can see why they try to, you know, mess with her, because he's outspoken for this God-given plan, you know, that help everybody with medical issue or mental issue. It help everybody. But somehow the big corporation, you know, they control the government. So they kind of, you know, try to bust the little guy that outspoken. Basically, that's what happened to her. So I asked, you know, whoever happened to be seated on Adela's jury panel, please vote no for her. She's a, you know, real nice person. You know, without her, you know, working with me first, I might still be in jail. That's all I can say. So please, you know, help her any way you can. Just vote no, not guilty.
All right, drop all the charges against Adela and Aaron.
Yeah, just drop them and let it go to court.
And you've had a chance to speak with her, haven't you, since you've been out? You talked a little bit ago. How is that to talk to her?
She talked real nice, though, you know, the way she sounds real nice. It's just like, you know, I can talk to her, even though I never spoken to her before, just between letter communication, between letter and stuff. Because I knew, though, she moved to Missouri, you know, I just don't know. You know, she got married, everything got a little homestead. That's what you told me, you know. So, you know, it's nice. As soon as I found out, because I don't know how to go into the internet, as soon as I found out, I said, what the hell? The first time I realized she was having problem with the Missouri state, you know, on the cannabis issue, was that I just stumbled, you know, across it on the post and say, what the hell? You know, I'm the one to do all those things and never use a computer. The last time I touched a computer is those or Macintosh in school. I think 83 or 84 is the last time we touched them.
Wow.
With the black floppy disk.
Yeah. And those 1 inch black tape with a hole, you punch it in and fit on the machine, one of those super old machines. Now other than that, never touch them.
Well, you've got a big learning curve with all the new technology and touch screen and everything that has happened in the past 25 years. And that's something that's really important for people to remember, is that life changes very quickly. And you, like you said in the very beginning, came out to a whole new world. And so you've got a great support system up there with all of those wonderful advocates. So I know you've got a great team to help you reintegrate fully and successfully. So before we've got just a little bit more time before we've got to cut off here, but what is something that you just want to express to the community about being out or being in or whatever you want? What's something you want to talk about? Tell everyone.
The way you know, that keep me going every day in prison is that we receiving letter from pen pals. So for me, you know, money is good for commissary because they don't feed you nothing. They starve you basically. It getting worse every year. But receiving, you know, letter from the pen pal, it keep you going, you know, and not for another day. Because during mail count, you know, when the letter, sometimes we on lockdown, the letter got slip under the door and I look and say, oh, another pen pal. You know, it perks me up to march on for another day. And throughout the year, I received plenty, but I try to write, you know, everyone when I come out of jail, but throughout the year, some, you know, they get moving and then, but, you know, some, especially, I forgot, what's her name now? Shell Melman, that's what the name that she used, though, but I didn't know. Say, that's her alias. So I came out, try to look for the name. Then all of a sudden, she contacted me, like maybe 2 months ago. She's one of those super oldie, you know, activists. She's old already. I'll meet her someday. She says she's coming out this area this year, so hopefully I get to meet her.
Yeah, there's a lot of really hardworking activists across this country, a lot of hardworking women activists, especially, that have really been making some change and making some stuff happen.
And it's weird though. It just happened pretty much all the activists is women, you know, but there's some men in there, but the woman put all, you know, push everything. Oh, I'd like to say thank you to Stacy Tice too. You know, I forgot the name because there's too many names. You know, like I say, the COVID, you know. Basically, I mentioned something about COVID because I got COVID for Christmas. All they do is just throw you in the quarantine unit and lock you in there with no treatment, no nothing. You know, when you ask for like certain things like aspirin, you know, or Tylenol, you know, stuff like that, or ibuprofen, they just walk away so quick. They don't give nothing. All they do is just pretend for the paperwork. They just pretend to come take your temperature, you know, your oxygen level every morning. That's it. Other than that, no treatment. If you're not drug there, you ain't gonna receive nothing.
That's horrible.
What it is, if people don't know, you know, the way they advertise it, you know, about medical treatment in prison, it's in theory, not in practice. I lived through that. You see how the tooth I got? No tooth. Because it's during lockdown, it hurt so bad. They just ignore me, so I just pull it off myself.
Wow.
Yeah, I pull it off myself. Now I know why, you know, the animal, when they got trapped, they beat up their limbs, you know, to get away. I understand. Hey, because like the toothache is worse than broken knee, because I broke my knee around 1980. Ain't nothing compared to the toothache.
Right. It goes straight into your head.
Yeah. And the pain never stopped. It's kind of like to keep throbbing. It hurts so bad. I know I got some, you know, crazy broken bone, but it's worse than my mom.
Well, do you have any sort of way that people can get money to you to help into your reintegration funds and stuff like that, or have people helped you out, or do you have a website or a link that we can share to get people to donate to?
That's like the Last Prisoner Project. You know, they started a site for me on GoFundMe. You know, like a couple of months ago. I'd like to thank everybody that contributed. But still, though, they contributed like maybe $4,000 or $5,000. But the money go quick though to buy the basic knee and stuff.
Right.
Is that GoFundMe still up? Can people still donate?
Oh, I got no clue. I'm not into those things, you know, me, you know. It should be, though. I just heard about it, you know, like about a couple of days ago. I see, you know, somebody tried to, you know, push for the community to donate money. So I think it should be on there still.
Right. Well, we'll search it out, and we'll definitely post it up on our social media and do all that. But you know, it's been great chatting with you. We really appreciate you coming on today.
You heard it, folks. Writing these individuals gives them a boost. It gives them hope. It gives them inspiration to keep going, that there is going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. Way is living proof of that. Welcome home, my friend. Thank you for agreeing to sit down with us and do this little quick update. And everybody else, I think we're probably going to sign off here. So enjoy the rest of the show. We'll see you at future events. And real quick, before we do sign off, right after I got off the phone with Way last Friday, about an hour later, we got the phone call from Robert Franklin saying that the governor granted his clemency and commuted his sentence. And that was some of the most exciting news ever. And I don't want to get off without touching on that. He has an open release date in July, but he's got to go before the parole board June 3rd. So hopefully that'll be expedited and he'll be out before July.
Well, let us know if there's ever anything that we can do to help you out. We'll try to continue to spread your message for support. But thanks again for coming on tonight. And for the rest of you guys, enjoy the rest of the show.
All right, we love y'all.
Forever grateful.
Headquartered in Kansas City, Clover is a cannabis-infused product manufacturer that believes in safe, consistent, and quality cannabis products for Missouri's medical marijuana patients. As the extractor, infuser, and wholesaler of their own products, they ensure patients are getting exactly what they are reading on the label. No chemicals, no funny business. Clover offers a variety of cannabis-infused products ranging from gummies and beverages to vape pens and concentrates, and offered from a variety of companies including Keef, Funny Bone, Wunna, and Robots. Whatever consumption method you prefer, they've got it. At Clover's facility in Kansas City, they're excited to announce their new, high-quality, cannabis-infused Clover chocolate bars and bonbons with the help of chocolatier Christopher Elbow. Clover is excited to continue to launch brand new products in the Missouri medical marijuana market.
Getting a medical marijuana patient recommendation just got easier with Elevate Holistics. Using HIPAA-compliant telemedicine software, Elevate Holistics enables patients like you to receive medical marijuana recommendations from the comfort of their own homes. Here's how it works. First, visit elevate-holistics.com to book your appointment using our online schedule. Then complete the intake forms in our confirmation email. Finally, visit with the doctor using the link in your confirmation email. It's that simple. Book an appointment today.
This call is from a correctional facility and may be monitored and recorded. To accept this free call, press 1. To review, thank you for using Securus. You may start the conversation now.
Rob is in custody on a nonviolent cannabis conviction where he was sentenced to 22 years without parole for 1 pound of cannabis, and he's already served roughly 12.
I've been incarcerated with robbers, murderers, sex offenders, and a lot of those people got less time than I have, and I have a non-violent crime. And I was wondering why somebody with a violent crime would be getting out before me with a non-violent crime. And I have one daughter, she's 14, and that's my world right there. She doesn't have any memory.
This call is from a correctional facility and may be monitored and recorded.
Being there with her, taking care of her. And I was with her and taking care of her whenever I caught this case. Me and her mom worked together and we were doing the family thing. Trying to raise her over the phone is pretty hard, but I'm doing it, or trying my hardest. She was 3 when I got incarcerated. She's 14 now.
Mm-hmm. The only way this man is going to get any kind of early release is if he is given clemency from the governor. Otherwise, he has to serve 80% of his time on 22 years. It's out freaking outrageous. So please keep showing up to these events and signing these letters of support.
I take that to the heart, and I thank you for everybody who does sign one of those letters. I thank everyone for their support, and that keeps my hope alive. I appreciate everything that you guys are doing. I don't know how I can express my gratitude, but it's overwhelming to me. I can't believe I'm in this situation. And when I come home, I'll be able to thank everyone in person.
The Missouri Cannabis Industry Association has been our longest-running show sponsor, while providing quality education over many topics in partnership with area cannabis professionals. MCIA is dedicated to a free cannabis market to create supplies and prices that are patient-friendly, with initiatives to support adult-use cannabis, to protect home growers' rights, and expand the caregiving program. Go to mocia.org to learn about memberships, to learn about their certified caregiving program, and learn how to get involved. Thank you, MCIA, for being a show sponsor.
Hello, welcome back to the Evolution Live series. We are only days away from potentially having legalization on our neighbor's side here in Kansas. We have some amazing talent here that are a part of this conversation. As you all know, it passed the House today. We are so close, and now is the most urgent time ever for you guys to respond. The best way you can do that is find out who your local legislator is by going to kslegislature.org if you're on the Kansas side. Find out who that person is that you need to write, especially if it's a senator, that you can write and politely discuss how you completely approve of this access of this medication. That's how you do it. We're going to pass it over for a second round of conversation. We have tons of questions lined out. If you have a question at home, now's the time to comment. Put it in the comment box. Put it in the side box if you don't want it to be known as you for a private question. We'll get those across to these guys here shortly. Tag a friend, bring them into the conversation. You can enter into an opportunity to win 2 free gift cards to a local Missouri cannabis side or a certification on the Missouri side. If you're in Missouri, if you're in Kansas, tag your friends so they can find out how to make this happen in the next few days with their local senators, who now it's all up to them, right? So let's pass it over to this group here. Take it away, guys.
Well, thank you, Clay. As we get into some of the minutia of the questions from our viewers, I want to make sure that everybody's on task and on mission. And the task and the mission today is to go to kslegislature.org, find your senator, and politely and respectfully, as a citizen of his area, to please vote for concurrence and then vote yes for 158. There are a lot of things about this bill that we will see it grow, I'm sure. Almost every state has a maturation process as they legalize medical cannabis, and Kansas will be no different. So as we take some of these questions, please don't deny this bill the opportunity to start the ball rolling for you. Go to kslegislature.org, find your senator, and politely and respectfully, as the leader of your district, to please vote yes on concurrence and then vote yes on 158. With that being said, George, you want to handle this first question?
Yeah, certainly. So we've got a viewer that says, does this bill do anything for decriminalization or record expunging? Unfortunately, no. We had discussed this at the very beginning, but we kind of took the keep it simple, stupid type of thing when we originally were doing this, because we recognize that this has been a challenge for us for a long time in Kansas. And while we're not denying the fact that this needs to be addressed, and frankly, we're already working on a bill language as we speak to address this issue, but we can't really address it at all until we get this bill passed first.
Absolutely.
And that was our main focus on this goal, to get this done this year. And I want to step back just a quick second for what you were also saying is we're not going to tell our significant other to do something, because we already know the response is going to be if you tell them to do it. We all ask. These are elected officials that have really, and if you haven't run for office, it's a brutal invasion in your own privacy. And whether I agree or disagree with whoever is on the other end of that line, we need to make sure that we understand that you're asking somebody who has really put them out to help legislate Kansas. So while I don't agree with a lot of things, and I am certainly not willing to back down from a fight, and I'm a passionate person, but at the same time, it has to be done with respect. So let me back up to this bill, this question specifically. No, unfortunately, it does not. However, Chairman Barker, like I said, is a former district judge. He really wanted to address a lot of the inequities that were in this bill, and fought very hard to make it as, one, passable, but two, keep it as equitable as possible. We all know that we're going to be addressing this issue in the next session.
Outstanding. I think that expunging is a human resources issue. What do you think about that, Major General?
Well, these issues all are difficult, but again, we were talking on the break. I spent a lot of the time worrying about this and dealing with this part of it, and in many cases, I think the history in this country of how we've dealt with drug offenses was too harsh. And so I personally am an advocate that we need to look at that and go about it the right way. And people that need to be returned to society should be returned to society, and those that aren't should. I know that seems simple, but it's I think, to me, again, having been in the war on drugs, you have to separate the really bad people and the evil from the people that just made mistakes and they've paid their time and need to be returned. So that's how I come to see it, and separate the differences in that, and let people get back to being productive members of society, get back to their families. So that's how I see it. There's reasonable people can come in a room and see the difference between somebody who was a major drug dealer with illicit drugs and separate them from what by any reasonable standard was very minor use and was not a major business operation. So I'm personally a fan of that. It's one of those hardest things I've had to do, is realize that something I was passionate about for a long time and I did well, I was wrong about. or I certainly needed to evolve and understand that some of these things are not the same. Some parts of the illicit drug trade are always bad, and they're some of the most evil people I ever dealt with in my life. And you do not want them in society, and they need to be punished harshly. But there are others, it's not even close to that. And I think it's time for society to separate the two and do the right thing.
Well, I think we've got another question. Representative Garber, you want to handle that one?
Sure. The question, when it passes, will it enable Missouri MMJ holders to be able to travel their medicine into Kansas, take their medicine to Kansas? We do have reciprocating law in this bill, so yes, you will definitely be able to just make sure just make sure that you have your license on you, okay?
Yes.
So carry it with you.
Yes, sir.
Specifically, it must be verifiable.
Yes.
From the point of origin. Now, obviously, we had a significant law enforcement pushback on some of these issues, but reciprocity is certainly important to both parties at this point, and so it was addressed. And yes, you can, provided that state meets the same threshold that Kansas does or higher, and is verifiable at the time.
Well, I'm doubly excited about the vote tomorrow then, because I'm a Missouri real estate appraiser and a Kansas real estate appraiser. I appraise both sides of the state line every day. Today I was in Shawnee, KCK, Leavenworth, Platte City, and then Gladstone. And I didn't have any of my medicine with me because I was going to be in Kansas for the first half of the day. And there's one thing that I don't want to be is a felon. Next question, is it open licensing or limited?
Well, I'll jump on that one because while we are definitely bringing up the rear in the country, it did allow us the opportunity to learn from the pitfalls of other states. And unfortunately, I'm sorry, Missouri, but you had some growing pains with your licensing over here. So because of that, we have no caps. We are entering this in with, we've certainly got the regulatory requirements up front. We've got a pretty substantial licensing fee, but at the same time, we do not have a limit on the licensing that's going to be out there. If you meet the criteria and you have the means to be able to do it, then you will get awarded a license. There's not going to be any questionable backroom conversations to get a license.
Amen. Why are they this is another question from one of our viewers. Why are they prohibiting smoking and vaping and the instant relief they offer without having to ingest for patients with stomach issues? Well, I'm going to go ahead and take it right on the chin with that, because we're taking baby steps. They worked very hard to put together a bill that passed with an unprecedented amount of bipartisan support. And as much as I can appreciate the need for vaping and for instant relief, especially when it comes to pain management, I think we all can agree that not being a felon is a little bit more important. So let's take that first step and get a bill passed that everybody can say yes to, and then we'll work on it from there.
Did you guys want to comment on that too, as far as the...
Yeah, in the language, the representative and I, we kind of worked on what's the definition of vaping. As you guys know, you've got convection, and then you've got a combustion. And I had asked the representative to insert the language that where the Kansas specifically says vaping is the use of an electronic cigarette for the ingestion of marijuana, and I said, well, let's expand on that. It's now the use of an electronic cigarette for the purpose of ingesting marijuana where the plant material comes in direct contact with the heating element. So that opens up nebulizers, that opens up convection to be able to address that issue medically, where you can still ingest, provided that you are not combusting the product and the material does not go in direct contact with the heating element. And there are certainly products out there that address that.
And I can also say, Chris, that again, I think Chris touched on this and maybe even explained it very well, but when you have a state with 125 representatives, you've got to find 63 votes. And if you start to bring things in that some people don't like, then you bring this in this person doesn't like, you're soon down from 79 votes to right around 62, 63, and we lose it. So we get what we can get and we work from there.
I'm going to tap onto the end of that with 78 votes positive for the House bill. That really rings a bell in the Senate on that this is almost a mandate from the people that can't be ignored and brushed under the table. Senator Madison, please let this come to the floor. Let the leaders that the people have elected have an opportunity to voice for their districts what their will is. Now they were asking what time does the voting start tomorrow? I believe session starts at 10. Is that correct?
Session does start at 10. That does not necessarily mean they'll get to it right away. If they ask for a concur right away, it could be within the hour. But again, we don't know what's going to happen in the Senate. Senator Haley iterated that it could be a motion to non-concur and send it to a conference committee. That could happen too.
Or they could just ignore it altogether.
Or they could ignore it completely. So we're not sure there's going to be a vote. We're just hopeful.
Can you just explain for our viewers who don't understand what concur, like what that means necessarily?
Sure. Since this is a Senate bill and the House, it was intentionally put into a Senate bill for this purpose, I believe. Either to have a concur on the Senate floor, which means, okay, we're going to accept the bill just like it passed the House. And I will tell you that very seldom happens. Okay, but it can. The next one is non-concur and send it to a conference committee. They'll say non-concur and a conference committee be appointed. Well, when you have a conference committee, you have 3 senators and 3 House of Representatives get together and talk about the bill. At that point, they can change the bill. They can take out some stuff that the Senate may not like. They talk amongst themselves and say, well, we like this, but we don't like this. Can we do some compromising here? We may come out with a better bill than we had. We may come out with a worse bill than what we have. We don't know. But also, at that time, they can take language that maybe didn't get a chance to get a hearing in one house, one chamber, or maybe it was vetoed by the governor, or maybe anything can happen, and then you can take these bills and put them inside that bill, that Senate Bill 158. So now you have, well, I've got this vote here and I voted no, but I sure like what they put in here. So it makes people decide whether they want to vote for it this time. Now, if it goes to the conference committee and they pass it, which I think they will pass some form of it, it has to be voted on again in both chambers. It will go back to the House, and if the House votes it out, then the Senate will have to vote on it. I don't think we're going to have a problem in the House, because I don't think they're going to modify it that much to get rid of the 79 votes that we have. So it'd have to go down under 63 to not pass. The Senate, it's a crapshoot there. I don't know what's going to happen in the Senate. You might know.
Well, I can tell you that there's a reason why a political science degree is a degree, and you need to probably send a bill out for some of that lesson there. But to further confuse this issue is we've all watched how to make a bill on TV when we were a kid. And, it passes one house, passes another house, and then gets signed. Well, that's not really reality most of the time. This bill was introduced by this gentleman on the House side as House Bill 2184. There is a bill that came from the Senate, Senate Bill 158, and it was germane to 2184. And by germane, it was similar and an issue relating to the governing body. So the House committee at that point took that Senate bill from 158, which had already been worked and sent out of the Senate side, There's your second house. We had removed all of the language out of Senate Bill 158 and inserted our language from the House side and then put it out of committee. So now you have a bill that's been worked in both houses, passed technically by both houses. The Senate will now have to hopefully concur on the new language that was inserted by the House, and at that point it can go up. If they deem it as significantly altered, they can put it into conference committee, or they can even shove it all the way back down into their own committee again and work it next year or ignore it. So this is a very tumultuous point in the life of this bill, which is, again, why I keep, encouraging prudence when we're discussing, our opinions on this bill, because, there's only a few ways to pass a bill, but there are 1,000 ways to kill a bill. And while everybody knows, where we stand on this bill, if it doesn't get passed, we have nothing to work on, to build upon. So that's, that it's a touchy thing right now.
So I'm going to wrap it up for us, if you don't mind, unless anyone else has anything to add. Representative Garber, thank you so much for 20 years in the Navy. Thank you so much for having 2 generations of airborne Rangers. Your son and grandson, he just told me, son and grandson are airborne Rangers. So this poor man spends 20 years fixing airplanes, and then all his kids decide to jump out of them. Perfectly good ones. Right. But sometimes we don't always do what our parents think's best, I guess. Yeah. But it's that type of leadership that is gonna carry Kansas forward in this. Major General, the same. That is the type of leadership that you're putting forth, is the type of leadership that's going to bring this forward. So if you want your voice to be heard, Kansas, go to kansaslegislature.org, find your senator, and send them a personal email or call them and tell them, ask them to support concurrence, ask them to support 158, and then tell them any stories that you might have about how cannabis has impacted your life. George, I'm going to let you have the final word, because if there's anybody...
I don't want to interrupt you guys. There's more questions here. So one quick question. If it passes the Senate, will the governor sign?
Governor has 3 options, obviously veto, but I will say she will not do that. I don't believe she wants this bill. She wants medical marijuana to pass, and the Democrats want medical marijuana to pass. The other option is to sign it, and that would be probably within a week she would sign it, or she can just let it pass into law. She doesn't have to sign it. But more than likely, since she wants it, she will sign it, and she'll get a little fanfare from it. So that's my decision.
That's politics 101, right? So, James, do you have any more questions over there on the pop-up?
Everything's been covered at this point.
Okay. So yeah, let's wrap this up here. Let me jump in front of the camera here. What's up? Thank you guys so much for being a part of this. I mean, for any politician to not only do what they're doing in the face of adversity within the houses of the politics situation, for one to come on a live show and to talk to constituents, not only on your side but also on the Missouri side, who are related by friends or family members that are concerned about this particular issue. We commend you for coming on the show and for taking the time out of during not only doing this late night, but during probably the most important times of everything's very busy for you right now. So we really appreciate you taking the time out to come and talk to us, as well as Senator Haley.
Pleasure.
Yeah, and thank you, as well as Senator Haley for joining us via Zoom, because he has a long day tomorrow trying to pull this whole thing off on his side. So we're just very thankful and gracious to be able to have these voices come on our show and talk about these issues, as well as George Hanna, co-director of Kansas NORML, Chris Wolfenbarger, doing amazing things in the community here in Missouri with veterans. Thank you guys so much. And our sponsors for helping pull this whole thing off, Clover. We'll have a live show with Christopher Elbow, their chocolatier, coming up at the end of the month. Elevate Holistics, if you need your certification, if you have friends or family members who need that, tag them in the comments right now.
Hey, Clay.
Yes, sir.
The Veteran Patient Access Foundation has almost 100 certifications from Elevate Holistics. So if you're a Missouri veteran who needs to still get your medical recommendation, reach out.
There you have it. So if you are a veteran in Missouri looking for a free certification, Elevate Holistics has given them a ton of them. That's why they're our sponsors, because we like to support cool people like that and cool organizations that are helping out the community. So if you need that, reach out to Chris Wolfenberger, reach out to Elevate Holistics. The Veteran Patient Access Foundation is the name of the organization that he started that's doing that with Elevate Holistics. So thank you so much to our sponsor for helping organizations like that. And MCIA, of course, our longest show-running sponsor that's connecting patients with patient caregivers on the Missouri side and who are helping us have these conversations with our neighbors on the Kansas side. You guys have one last chance, maybe not, but you have a very limited time right now to reach out to your local legislators. So kslegislature.org. Find out who your local representative is, specifically on the Senate side right now. Because time is of the essence. Right now, we can solve this whole situation of our friends and families working or living on one side of the state or state line there and doing the other on the opposite, and worrying about our friends and families who work over there or live over there. You get the situation. It's very passionate for us to talk about these topics, and we thankfully have some amazing people that will come on our show and talk about it. So one last thanks to Happy Rock Farms for letting us do this whole thing at their store here, and also Cat King Films behind the camera there, and then James Thomas with Level Up AV behind the computer, making all this stuff sound and look wonderful. So thank you guys so much for everything you do for us. We will see you next week, next Thursday, MCIA's show back here at Happy Rock Farms. We have Max Montrose with the Trichome Institute. Amazing concepts of cannabis curriculum, all coming to you live on next week's show, as well as the Cannabis Care Team and COCO Dispensaries are teaming up to launch a bud tender training certification course, or curriculum rather, that will start up. The first class is going to be in July. So we're going to talk about all those things on next week's show. Please tune in, share this show, tag your friends. Let's bring them into this conversation. Let us know how we can continue to bring great information, education, and awareness to you at home through these shows. We will see you next time. Peace.
Great show, guys. Oh, my goodness.
Good job.